we can all definitely sit and say the Pledge of Allegiance, or we can just skip it for tonight and move on. Let's go on. Let's just get started and go right on the roll call.
Okay, Holtkamp.
Here.
LaRue.
Here.
Moody.
Here.
Odine. Prendergast.
Here.
Woolsey. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, with approval of the minutes from the November 1st Joint Planning Commission and City Council session. And we'll go with the approval of the minutes from the November 1st Planning Commission meeting. I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 1st Planning Commission.
This is Patricia. I'll second.
Okay, first and second. Questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Amy, would it be better since we're online? Is it easier to just do a roll call on everything, or are you okay with?
I do have everyone.
You do? Okay. Is that Angie?
Yep, it is. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Next we'll move on to public comments. Sterling, is there anybody with public comments in the council chambers?
We didn't pass the minutes for the workshop.
Yep. The workshop?
Yeah,
we did the Joint Plan Commission and the City Council workshop or work session, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Yep.
I seconded it, so.
Well, I don't want to say anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let's move on to ordinances resolution. I don't know, Sterling, can you hear me? Or Angie?
Yes.
Is there any public there that would be interested in public comments?
No, there's not.
Okay. So I'll go through what I got to close the planning commission hearing, open a public hearing for resolution approving the general development plan for 106 unit multifamily development on Radio Road and Paulson Road. And is there anybody in the audience that has anything like to say? And Angie, you can let me know.
Okay, yep, so we have someone who's coming up.
Okay.
Mike.
This is Trevor Bolton from Capital Investment Partners on behalf of the project that you're looking at for today, the general development plan. If there are any questions, I'm available to answer those.
Okay, thank you. I'm assuming there's nobody else there, Angie?
Nope. Nobody that wants to say anything.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and reopen up the planning commission hearing, and I'll take a motion on this.
I'll make the motion to approve the general development plan for the as proposed.
You want to second it?
I'll second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Now we can start with, or actually, you know what? Kendra's got a presentation for us. I'm sorry, Kendra.
No worries. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Wonderful. All right. Yes. Is everybody ready?
Yeah, you.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right. All right. Good evening, Mayor and Plan Commissioners. So yes, I'm Kendra Elmer, planner, and the item on the agenda this evening is the General Development Plan submittal from Capital Investment Partners for 106 unit multifamily development. So a General Development Plan is a conceptual level plan that shows items such as potential land uses, site layout, location of structures. It is not the final or highest level of detail for a development plan, and more details will be provided when the specific implementation plan comes before the Plan Commission and City Council. So this development site is located on Radio Road, just south of Paulson Road, and the site consists of approximately 5 acres. The recently approved Thompson annexation, which includes all of these parcels. So the image shown is the developer's current project, which is located in New Richmond, and it will be similar to the product that is being shown or proposed tonight, which will feature a pitched roof, various exterior materials, and all units will be accessed outside via walk-up stairways, and all units will have a private deck or patio. The developer proposes approximately 106 apartment-style units spread out over 4 buildings, all 3 stories high, with 2 12-stall covered garages and an array of surface stall throughout the site will be available to residents and their guests. Each building will hold 24, 28, or 30 units. The units will range from 1 to 3 bedrooms, and a breakdown of the unit mix will include a total of 52 one-bedrooms, 42 two-bedrooms, and 12 three-bedroom units. So what is shown here is the current site plan, and the applicant is seeking a planned unit development, general development plan approval for flexibility regarding the one-to-one open space requirement for the multifamily housing, and this standard requires 1 square foot of open space for each square foot of dwelling unit area. So the project approximately has 25,000 square feet less than is required. So this flexibility may be granted via PUD in exchange for increased amenities on the site. So the developer will construct a public trail along Radio Road, a nature trail around the wetland, and pedestrian connections throughout the site. It will also provide quality amenities on site, such as a tot lot, pet park, and a fitness center will be located in one of the 4 buildings. So when considering an application for a planned unit development, the city code requires an application to meet these criteria. So 1, staff has reviewed the project submitted and found it to be consistent with the comprehensive plan and official map, as the site is zoned R1 high density residential, which allows multifamily development as a permitted use. Regarding community benefits, the project will add multifamily housing to a growing neighborhood in the northern area of River Falls, and the developer intends to install a trail connection on the east end of the property around the wetlands and along Radio Road, connecting to neighborhood developments and a planned trail along Paulson Road. This will allow for bicycle and pedestrian access to Sterling Ponds Park, the neighborhood, Whitetail Ridge Corporate Park, and the trails, and areas south towards downtown River Falls. The location also provides easy access to the Radio Road interchange at State Highway 35, further providing a network for users to access all their goods, services, and employment needs through various transportation modes. The character of the proposed buildings is anticipated to be consistent with the surrounding area of other residential developments with quality materials and a cohesive layout. Regarding land use and multifamily housing requires one-to-one open space requirement, so the applicant is seeking flexibility on this requirement. In return, there will be an extensive network of trails and other quality outdoor amenities, including, as I mentioned, the tot lot, pet park, and fitness center. As for economic impacts, the development is projected to cost approximately $11.3 million and provides additional needed housing for the area. So engineering design standards will be addressed in detail during the SIP phase of the process, and the GDP has been reviewed by staff and has not raised any concerns. And finally, for parks and open space, staff is satisfied with the 2 acres of open space, which is approximately a half acre less than is required for the development. In exchange, the developer will extend the public trail along Radio Road, creating a nature trail connection around the wetland, and will adhere to all proposed on-site amenities. So staff has reviewed and found the criteria for the GDP has been met. So next steps include the general development plan application to go before the City Council on January 24th. If the GDP is approved, a specific implementation plan application will be provided to the applicant and will be presented to the Plan Commission and Council. The GDP and SIP being approved is a requirement for the PUD's final approval. So staff recommends that Plan Commission forward the enclosed resolution approving the GDP for the site to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. With that, I will defer back to you, Mayor, for any questions or discussion.
Thanks, Kendra. Okay, let's open it up for discussion. Questions or discussion on anybody?
This is Patricia.
Yep, I was gonna say, I can't see you all, so just kind of lob out there.
Well, this is Patricia. All this go first, right?
Yep.
So I'll just say one of my main concerns about this whole area is we've got Derrick Homes putting in 86 units, Saturday Townhomes putting in 190 units, and now Capital Investments putting in 106. And I believe each of them have talked about this same open space. They don't have unique open spaces. They're all talking about, trails and paths, which are all very good. But what I'm seeing in my head is this conglomeration of all these buildings and very little other than this, the wetland, which could be made to be very pretty. And that's what all these people are going to be using because practically speaking, Sterling Ponds Park is not something where a couple of boys can run over and start making kickball. But I have some questions. The pet park, how big is that conceptually? Do we know?
I think we got the developer there, right?
Yeah, I believe
It'll be the same with the tot park or whatever you're calling that, tot lot.
Good evening, this is Sean Bohan with AEC. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the engineer on the project, and I put together the general development plans for this. As far as the pet park, we don't have the dimensions shown, or on the plans and stuff, but it's roughly probably about maybe 60 to 70 feet in length, and probably about 30 to 40 feet in width.
Okay.
It was an area that we weren't planning at this point to end up fencing. It was just basically an area to be able to walk your dogs and that type of stuff rather than around the trails. The tot lot also just shows some amenities with slides, swings, and that type of stuff. As far as the area set aside, that's probably a couple thousand square feet also.
So this whole, as we're looking at the bottom, I don't think it's south, but the bottom area where the pet park is and the tot lot, that's all going to be green space, right?
Correct.
It's not going to be paved or anything like that. Okay, and this wetland, it says a future outlot, but it also says wetland do not disturb or whatever. So is something going to happen to that in the future where you're going to make that a park or something like that? An outlot?
So the city's requirement was that we end up placing the wetland within an outlot. And just to note that the wetland within this property ends up basically being a little more than 3/4 of an acre. That was not counted as any of the open space. It's
Okay.
not allowed. So while it looks dense, we still, the site itself is about 5.5 acres. And so we actually have in green space, counting the wetland, we're far exceeding what that requirement is for the open space. But we're not able to fill it. We're not able to go in and mow it, that type of stuff. We are putting basically an unimproved nature trail around the perimeter connecting to the development that ends up being to the east. So there will be a path that goes around it. And then we do end up connecting to the north. There's a path that goes around the stormwater facilities as part of the Derrick construction. And we're connecting to that also. So I think there's I feel a pretty good connection with trails and paths, not only around this facility, but along the frontage of radio, and also going into the property that ends up being to the east.
And I like that you have 2 areas to enter and exit the development. That makes for safe travels through it. One more question. This is for Kendra. So will there be parkland dedication fees attached to this?
I believe that we will take cash in lieu. Is that correct, Emily? Yes, we will be taking the rest in cash in lieu.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Nobody else has anything?
I have a question, not necessarily related specifically to this development, but noticing that we have all these new apartment complexes coming in, are we tracking the relationship between like 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom? Because it seems like a lot of these apartments have pretty limited 3 bedroom options. So I'm just thinking in terms of family housing, the big picture of development across River Falls, are we tracking to make sure we have enough family style units, 3 bedrooms and whatnot, that as opposed to just 1 bedroom apartment?
Kendra or Emily, could you guys answer that?
So we haven't been tracking specifically on a spreadsheet in terms of meeting a particular goal because we don't have that data point. What has been encouraging to see is that as these multifamily projects come in, they are offering 3 bedrooms because that's often not something that the market can support as well. They'll do 1 bedroom or studio plus alcove or maybe a maximum of 2 bedroom. So it's been really encouraging to see the number of 3 bedrooms coming in. But again, we don't have a metric or a requirement for that kind of unit mix. So that's something that the developers have been bringing in at their own market studies to see that there is that demand for family housing in these multifamily projects.
Emily, don't we have something with the housing study that we did a few years ago that would be able to tie to the family number, the 3 bedrooms versus the 2 bedroom versus the efficiency type? How long before we check off how many housing needs we've filled with all of these?
I'm not sure that the housing study, and we just recently updated it, goes to that level of detail in terms of the market demand for certain types of bedroom types. We did look at demographics in terms of the typical family size, and it still is, the like 2-point-something people per housing unit, so yep, there's some that are bigger, some that are smaller, that's kind of average. But I don't know if anyone from the development team, if you want to talk about any market studies you did to kind of come to this unit mix or what you're seeing in other communities, that might provide some interesting context.
Mr. Mayor, this is Mike Woolsey. Just following up a little bit on what Patricia was talking about, and one of the things I'm kind of struggling with is when we say, well, we've got some adjacent green space, so we're kind of in the ballpark, we're in the spirit of having that particular feature in land, so we're close enough, and then we do have other developers coming in. Are they claiming the same overlap of that? If they come in with their plan and say, well, we're counting this other piece of nearby space, green space, open space in the equation. I'm looking at this as, is there a first come first serve, and then a developer comes in and wants to claim, well, look, at this part kind of gives us close enough to be on the margin, but we've already counted it towards another development. How are we dealing with that? I guess any staff could answer that, or maybe if that's, I'm kind of curious if Patricia was was kind of pointing that out. Was that in the spirit of what you were saying, Patricia? Okay, and maybe if we could get staff comment on that.
Sure, we do look at each of these on a site-by-site basis. So we're looking within the boundaries of their site. The other thing that as Mr. Bohan mentioned, we don't include areas that can't be usable open space in the open space calculation. So we don't include wetlands or stormwater, any of the parking areas, building area, that kind of thing. So we're really wanting to make sure that there is sufficient open space. And then if, these sites, we have competing goals or multiple goals that we're trying to achieve with all of these housing developments, where we want the units because we need more housing. We also want to provide efficient extension of water and sewer and utilities to developments. So increased density meets a lot of the city's goals. So what we want to make sure that we're doing is, if we don't have that 1-to-1 open space ratio, that we're providing enhanced amenity for residents so that they can have access to open space that's even maybe more highly designed, designed with additional amenities rather than simply just mown grass. So again, having a pet park so that there's that kind of programming for residents. And that's a feature that is also being provided at the Saturday townhome. So they'll have that pet area. That's an amenity that they know the residents are looking for and is needed to be accommodated in the open space play areas as well. So there's the play area here at the current. When we were talking to the Thompson Heights developers, we asked them to create a space for a play area, because even though their demographic that they're targeting is maybe more empty nesters, you may have your grandkids over, right, and want to have a walkable place within the neighborhood to go and play, some programmed space. So they've included that in their development. The other thing that we've been looking at is how to incorporate these stormwater and wetland places as open space amenities, and that's where the trail connections come in. So as Mr. Bohan was saying, that the Thompson Heights neighborhood, they have half of the wetland on their property, so we've asked them to put a nature trail on their half of the wetland, so they're responsible for that. And then the other half is on this property, so we've asked them to put a trail on their half. And then both properties are sharing stormwater in that kind of northwest part of the site, right at the intersection. And so putting the trail around the stormwater, again, so it's open space that can't be actively used, but it can be passively used. So we look at that, at all of the opportunities that are available to meet the intent of that open space for all of these developments.
Thanks.
Trevor has something to say here too.
And I think, kind of on that point, if you look at our parking per the zoning code, our parking requirements of 2 spaces per unit for multifamily and a 1-to-1 green space ratio, if we actually implemented that by the book, we'd have a ton of wasted space around the community, because every multifamily development would have a huge parking lot and then also this green space that may or may not actually be an amenity, to Emily's point. So I think, I would hope that coming out of this comp plan process, that's going to be one of the first things we look at in terms of the zoning code to revise those standards, because otherwise every development's going to be a PUD, because we don't want that much parking and that much, useless open space. We'd rather have targeted, effective open space.
Trevor has a comment.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I think this is Trevor Bolin from Capital Investment Partners. You asked a question about...
Mr. Mayor, I move for the resolution approving the general development plan, GDP, for 106 unit multifamily development, aka the current.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you get that, Angie?
Yes, thank you.
Were you able to get everybody on that, Angie?
Yes, thank you.
I'll take that as a yes. Okay, next we'll move on to Amy's got a report for us for the planning update.
Well, good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yay! Technology is working tonight. That's a good thing. So, well, it's good to see all of you. Thank you for being here this evening. Just wanted to give a few updates on the director's report. I guess the first thing is just to talk about next month's meeting a little bit. We are actively working to complete the department annual report and are hoping to have that ready for you at your next month's meeting, along with the department's major project list. So hopefully some updates for 2023 coming at your next meeting in February. When I look at just some highlights from the director's report, I would point out the Powell Avenue Bridge design. So our city engineer was working actively with the DOT on the design of that bridge. And initially, it was going to be strictly designed for vehicular traffic. But again, our city engineer was working diligently with DOT and was able to sway DOT to get that bridge designed for both pedestrian and vehicular traffic, and to allow that to be covered by the grant that we will be receiving for that bridge infrastructure as well. So that's good news on our part. So another highlight that I saw in the report was that a permit has been pulled for the old Burger King building to start renovations. So I know we've been seeing questions rumbling through the community as to what's happening. Well, there's another step forward in the process. So that's good news too. And I'm sure Stephanie, who will be with us in just a little bit from SRF, will talk a little bit more about our upcoming process. But we hope that yet this month you will be receiving the draft of the comprehensive plan to review prior to your next meeting on January 26th. So just have a heads up for that. As you'll take a look at that process. And Emily, I wanted to kick this back over to you if you have any planning updates for them.
Just a couple. To note that on November 22nd, since we didn't have regular plan commission in December, didn't give you that update then, the city council approved the SIP for the Uplands apartment project, which is just north of Tattersall. So that project will be getting underway hopefully sometime in 2023. And then we have received at least one planning application for review. So that will also be on your February Plan Commission meeting agenda on February 7th. So with that, that's our report, and we'll take any questions. Otherwise, we can adjourn and move into the Comp Plan Steering Committee workshop.
This is Patricia. Back in November, Commissioner O'Dean asked how many residential units had been added in 2022. We didn't have the answer at the time, but we were told that that information would be provided. Do we know how many units were added in 2022?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but it will be in our annual report presentation that you'll get next month.
And Commissioner Woolsey asked about possibly having a dashboard category so we could kind of follow as these new ones went in, how we're ticking off and how we're doing on the housing study. Do we have something like that in the works?
So we do a dashboard like that that's presented to the council. And Amy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's twice a year that those housing updates are provided. So we can make sure that the Plan Commission gets a copy of that as well.
That'd be nice. Thank you.
Could I make a motion to adjourn the Plan Commission meeting?
Second.
All those in favor? Isn't that what mayor should say? Turn your mic on.
Sorry about that. I forgot it was, yeah, I haven't been online in so long. All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We are adjourned.
All right, I need to fill up my water bottle. Give me 30